Dear Reddit, last night, I finally went on a date with this guy, who's been asking me out for the past couple of months. He took me to a weight loss seminar. What's your what the f is this moment in your dating history? A guy I had met 3 days previously offered to pick me up and hang out. I was cool with that, but he ended up dragging me around on errands. We went to his dentist appointment, and then when I said I wanted to leave, he said he'd give me a ride home but only in exchange for a blowjob. I was pretty scarred about dating after that. And no, I didn't give him a blowjob. I got out right there and walked to a bus stop. Alright, I'll post one. So I went on a couple dates with this girl, and she was giving me some signs that she was ready to get a little physical. So I lean in close and try to kiss her, and she turns her face away from me. Stunned, I end up going home and thinking it was over between us. Later on, she contacts me and starts hinting we should go out again. I decide to go for it again after getting some heavy hints, and she pushes me away. So now I just ask, what's going on? She says, I'm on dates with you, so I don't feel like I'm undesirable, but I'm not attracted to you. She called me the next day, and I told her I'm not dating people who make me feel undesirable, then hang up. Went out with a girl for a first date. She took me to a Kumdo lesson, which is a Korean sword fighting sport. I thought that was cool, but it was an advanced class, and I made somewhat of a fool of myself, but all in good fun. Anyway, it turned out that she was bringing me there because she wanted me to be part of a documentary about foreigners in Korea. So my looking like a fool was broadcast nationwide. We then visited the Grandmaster's house for Machiavelli, and the film crew started interviewing me. They were basically focusing on my relationship with the girl I was going out with. They didn't seem to understand it was a first date. So here I'm trying to answer awkward questions without embarrassing both of us on national television. Well, I had this major crush on this girl. She was gothish, which isn't my thing normally, but this woman was extremely intelligent and cool. So the first date is good. We have a good time. We are both drunk, and we go back to my place. Mind you, she's very open with her sexuality. So things get hot and heavy. Right when the action is going to start, she says, I don't actually want to do this. Imagine a semi-truck slamming on its brakes. Okay, I say that's fine, and we just sleep off our drunk. This exact same thing happens a second time, and I'm starting to get annoyed, only because it's painfully obvious that our mutual actions during the date are leading to sex. Finally it happens a third time, and I decide I'm over this girl. About a year later, I find out from her friend that she was hoping I would act out a rape. She wanted me to be like, F that, we're effing. I pointed out that this would, in fact, constitute an actual rape, not acting one out. I then found out she had herpes. So in the end, me for the win. On my first date with a guy off an internet dating site, he took us to the Scientology Museum in London. I thought, original, easy to find things to talk about, laugh at the craziness of, this could be fun. Then he proceeded to read every single piece of writing on every single exhibit, ask the attendant very probing questions about how one goes about joining Scientology, etc, and sounding slightly too interested to just be intrigued about a religion. Also, he was visibly sweating. Once we were done there, we went for a glass of wine, and he told me he used to shoot heroin. I was out of there like a shot. In college, this guy from one of my classes asked me to go out with him out of the blue. We'd never even talked before, but he was pretty cute, so I said sure. We exchanged numbers, and he said he'd call me with details. He called the next day and told me we were going to a restaurant that was way out of my price range. We are talking like, no way this bill will be under $100. I tried talking him out of it, and when that didn't work, flat out saying I couldn't afford something like that, but he insists and tells me not to worry. This all really should have been a clue to me. So I say fine, and agree to go. We get to the restaurant and the waiter comes over, and I go to order the cheapest thing on the menu when he stops me and says, ignore her, we are both having the steak. But I don't like steak. She's just saying that because she's poor. We'll have steak, and shoos the waiter away. I'm mortified and pissed and want to leave, but he was my ride. He tries to make conversation and just proves to me that he really is an S. Then he says he has to go to the bathroom and leaves. I'm sitting there for a good 10 minutes before he texts me, haha, I got the shroom drinking last night, don't eat without me. That wow, the last straw. I call the waiter over, pay for my meal, and go to the Starbucks down the street to call my friend to pick me up. Guy was trying to impress me and was the world's biggest S. I went on a few dates with a guy in college. At first I was excited because I found him attractive and he said yes to a dinner date. Turns out even attractive people can be a bag of crazy. First date, we go out to an Italian restaurant. He orders spaghetti with regular sauce, no meatballs. Out of curiosity, ask if he's tried anything else on the menu he could recommend. Nope, I only ever order spaghetti. Food comes and he proceeds to lean over his plate, shovel the spaghetti in his mouth and use his lips to cut the rest back on his plate. I'm no snob, I've eaten spaghetti like that before, just never in public. He says it's the right way to eat it. He asks if I'd like to go see a movie. I'm not feeling the vibe, so I decline. Make up some project I need to finish. He tells me he loves the movies, wishes he could just live in one all the time. Alright, well, thanks for the date. A week later he asks me out again. I decide to give him another shot. Maybe I was being overly judgmental or petty. We agree to go out for pizza and see a movie. I pick him up at his house and we go to Pizza Hut at his insistence. Best pizza on the planet, he tells me about 3 times on the way there. We get there and he orders a personal pan for himself. That was a first. Okay, he didn't want to share the bill maybe? I order one for myself and just let it go. Again worrying maybe I'm being judgy. Bill comes and he pays, so now I'm really confused. But whatever, I'm not going to call him out. Not worth it. Movie ended up being back his house where, surprise, he lives with his parents. His dad asks me what I'm in school for, and when I tell him he lectures me that I should go to school for teaching, since that's what he does. Question mark, question mark. Okay, nice meeting you. We never did watch the movie. Spent the rest of the evening with him showing me all his WWF wrestling memorabilia and bossing his mother around Cartman style. His life goal was to get his old job at Blockbuster back, since it was the most fun he'd ever have. His favorite way to spend Christmas was when his mom let him open everything the night before so he could spend the day at the movies, avoiding all the relatives that came over for Christmas dinner. He hated everything his mother cooked and counted off to me the only 10 foods he would ever eat. Hated everything else. Didn't need to even try it. Did I mention he was 27 years old? A few days later he invites me out to coffee and I agree, so I can tell him I won't be going on any more dates with him. He was nice enough, and even though he was an oddball, we never got each other to laugh. All our conversations were dry, no shared interests, and he didn't have the same values on the importance of family. This wasn't going to work. We meet up, and he orders a meal, while I get my coffee. I tell him that I enjoyed our dates, but wouldn't be seeing him again. He yells, "So you're breaking up with me?" "No, we are not anything official, I can't believe you're dumping me." And he storms out, leaving his food behind half eaten. I sit there for a few moments kind of stunned, slightly amused, but okay, life goes on. A few weeks go by and now it's the holidays. I run into him again, and this time we do hit it off. He seems to laugh easier, tells a good joke, etc. He asks what I'm doing for New Year's and I invite him to the party I was going to. I figure, hey, maybe we can at least be friends. I tell him about the other girls that will be there, and he seems to get the hint that we aren't going as a couple. We get to the party and he loudly declares that he doesn't drink. That's fine. No one reacts, no biggie. He sits in the corner refusing to acknowledge anyone. He seems upset for some reason, so I ask him what's wrong. He's upset because the movie trivia game we were playing earlier had a mistake in it. Alright, well we'll get the info off the box and write to them. He seems to cheer up after this. Later he sneaks into the kitchen and begins to prepare himself a mixed drink by pouring a little of everything into a glass. He doesn't notice me and he's talking to himself going, yeah, a little of this, or maybe some of that. He takes a sip of his rum cranberry malibudra pepper or ranger jasmine, snaps a splash of tap water and pours the rest down the drain. I don't think he wanted to admit he didn't know how alcohol worked. On the drive home the next morning he pretended to have a hangover and didn't talk much. I'm driving and the roads are icy, so I'm not minding the silence. About 30 minutes left in the trip, and he asks me what I want to do with my college degree. I tell him my plans and stuff I'm excited to do. He then says this: "I don't see the point of you wasting your time getting a degree. You'll just be spending the rest of your life raising my children and cooking me meals that I like." It took all I had not to dump him off right there on the freeway. He continues to say demeaning nonsense about our future, how he'll convince me to drop out of college, how pointless it is for all women to get degrees, blah blah blah. My ears began ringing with rage. I'd never had someone say anything so outrightly unsupportive or sexist like that to my face. I knew he had some strange social issues, maybe some anxiety about trying new things, but this was too much. I calmly told him I was not going to be told my lot in life is to raise his babies on his part-time blockbuster paycheck. I didn't say another word to him, just dropped him off at his car and drove off. I did learn to never feel obligated to put up with someone's bull. I kept giving him chances when I shouldn't have, but in the end I think I needed to learn that lesson. Now I'm really careful about not leading men on, especially if they have poor social skills.